Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV. We've got another interview. We haven't done one in a little while, and we're joined today by an actual living, breathing person from YouTube. His name is Tom Leung, and he is, why don't you tell us exactly what your title is at YouTube, Tom?
I am a director of product management at YouTube.
And what Tom does is also on the side, kind of as an experiment, he launched a new channel called Creator Insider. And what he's been doing is actually bringing on living, breathing humans from YouTube just like him to talk about some of the things that go on behind the scenes so that creators like me and perhaps some of you out there will have some idea as to maybe your strategy as to how you approach your channel and other things. And it began as like a stealth effort, Tom, right? I mean, it's something I just stumbled across. I don't even think you have 5,000 subscribers yet. Why don't you talk to us about Creator Insider and what led to its creation?
Yeah, it's interesting in that I think you were one of the first people to talk about us, and we were kind of surprised. I think someone in the comments said, hey, Lon sent me here. And I said, well, who's that? And then I looked and I saw that you had mentioned us in one of your videos. So we were very pleasantly surprised. And you're right that the channel is a bit of an experiment. So it hasn't been, featured on the YouTube homepage. We haven't done any official announcements about it. It was really something that we kicked around for a little while at the end of last year. And basically the hypothesis was, could we be a little bit more conversational in our communications? And also, would it be valuable if people from the tech team, from the product development organization, gave a little bit of context and color about product development decisions that we're thinking about, and then also use it as a way to kind of understand and hear more and get more input from creators. So, we weren't sure if it was going to work. There were a lot of concerns about like, hey, if this is YouTube and we are putting out a channel, like the expectations are this is going to be, super high produced. And if we work in the tech team where, we have day jobs, we're not professional videographers and I'm not a professional spokesperson. So how will people react to these really rough cuts where we just try and upload once a week kind of in a very informal way? And so we said, well, let's just start it and see what happens. And, luckily some people have responded positively to it. So the experiment continues.
And what's great about it, you mentioned this in just a few minutes ago, that you're not going out to maybe take advantage of the position you have as being at the control deck here. So you're not really trying to do anything different to grow this channel than anyone else would as they're putting something together. So you're not putting yourself on the homepage. You're kind of letting this thing organically grow on its own. What are you learning having a small channel but being at the controls that you're seeing here as you're trying to develop this?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting experience because I think working in product development, you intellectually know that building a channel is really hard, and we can read like market research and customer research and look at data, and you can say, wow, yeah, it really takes a concerted effort to build up a large channel. But when you're actually in the shoes of a creator and actually trying to start a channel from zero with no help, no special help,
right?
You kind of internalize that struggle a lot more than just sort of intellectually knowing that, yeah, it is hard to build and scale a channel. It does require a lot of work. But at the same time, I guess I've also learned how rewarding it is, because I can't tell you how cool it was when we started getting our first few comments, and especially if they were encouraging. I still remember when we first got our first community contribution for like transcriptions and subtitles. It was like, oh my God, like one of our videos is now available in Italian. And this guy didn't have to do it. He just liked what we were doing and wanted to be helpful and the people that then reviewed and approved his stuff, like they didn't have to do it. So it's been sort of really kind of eye-opening from a really feel the struggle of trying to break through, but also very rewarding because you definitely, like, there's not like I wouldn't call it a community around our channel, but there's the sort of the early beginnings of that, and there are definitely people who've been with the channel from the very earlier uploads and are still with us, and that feels really awesome.
And what's funny is at the time that we're recording this, you're not even at 5,000 subscribers yet, so you can't even use your own production spaces yet to work on this. So you're growing it the hard way. What was really interesting was you talking about the fact that you are doing this from the standpoint of let's just get a video up, and that's the advice I often give to people because I have a lot of equipment now, but I started with my phone and I kind of built it up as I went. And I think that's really the best way to approach this kind of thing. So let's talk about what you do at YouTube, because you are in Switzerland of all places. I don't know how you got there. I guess you're from New Jersey originally. So maybe start off how you got to Switzerland and what are you doing for YouTube there, and how does this channel link up to what you do for your day job essentially?
Yeah, so I worked at Google in the Google Analytics team from 2006 to 2009 in Seattle. And then I left to work at smaller companies, and then decided about a little over a year ago to sort of try something new. And that was when I got back in touch with my original Google manager. And I said, hey, do you have anything interesting going on in Google, Seattle, or Kirkland, the sort of the area that I was living in? And he said, no, but how about Zurich? And so it was completely unplanned. But at the end of the day, A, it sounded like a cool adventure. B, it was working for YouTube, which is just a neat place to work. And C, it was with a guy that I worked for before and enjoyed and learned a lot from. So yeah, about a little over a year ago, we moved out here and took the whole family, and now my day job is working with a team of product managers who are responsible for Creator Studio, YouTube Analytics, the crowdsource translations, and some other things in development. But I work within the larger organization that is generally focused on how can we help creators succeed and help more creators succeed faster.
And I'm sure you probably have heard over the few months that some creators get frustrated because it's often hard to figure out exactly what you want from us. And I'm curious, how does that feel on being on the YouTube side of things, where for a whole host of reasons you can't say everything about how things work, and yet you're getting a lot of criticism and heat from the people that you depend on to continue growing the platform. How did you balance that, and is that what led to Creator Insider, was to try to maybe open up some doors to the creator community to work on some of those issues?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the hypothesis for Creator Insider was, people may not always agree with every decision we make, but what we can do perhaps is try harder to explain how we came to these decisions and what alternatives we considered. And obviously we can't sort of share every confidential piece of information, but I think we could, the idea was that we could do more. And we could also use the channel as a way to listen better and to make it more of a conversation. So it's not just, hey, we're doing this stuff, end of story, but it's, hey, we're making some changes, we're making some improvements, hopefully. Here's why we think they will improve things, and here's how we thought about it. But let us know if you have questions or comments, and then that can help enhance our thinking and improve sort of the overall plan and the dialogue. So yeah, it's definitely a difficult balance, because with such a large platform, you never please everybody, right, all of the time. But but transparency in general, I think, is a value at Google and YouTube, and I think you'll see more and more of that as we go on, because like you said, like YouTube wouldn't be anywhere without creators, but creators also need audience, and the platform needs advertisers. So you kind of have these three stakeholders, and our job is to try and help creators be successful, have viewers have an amazing experience, and help advertisers participate in the success of this platform. And if we can find sort of the win-win across the board, then everybody should be a lot better off.
I guess it's a balancing act. I mean, if you think about it, you have many customers that you are serving. You're serving the creator community, who there's a relationship between creators and YouTube. And one of the things that I like being on YouTube about, first of all, is that it's my full-time job now, which is unheard of, right? You couldn't have done this 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, congratulations, by the way. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a great opportunity. And what's amazing is that, for me, I have about 140,000 subscribers. There are 30,000 other creators out there of varying sizes, financially perhaps, but are all doing this to some degree or another full time. And it's amazing that we're in a world that allows for this. And one of the things that I've really liked about YouTube versus every other social platform out there is that it does, share the wealth, essentially the revenue, with everybody, regardless of size. And I'm sure that's not an easy thing to manage that side of the token, but also to have to deal with advertisers and everything else that comes in. And I think that's been one of the great things about what you're doing there, is that you are talking about the things like the advertiser friendliness issues that have been going on, and how you can make sure your content is going to be compatible with what some advertisers want. And I think that information has been very helpful to hear from somebody at YouTube, that this is exactly what you should be thinking about when looking at your channel. So what have you learned doing this that you're bringing back to the team now? Because now you're a struggling small channel. You're where everyone is when they're kind of on the way up. So have you learned anything that you said, wow, I had no idea this was like this, versus what you thought based on working on the inside?
I can't imagine a single meeting that I go to or a conversation I have, with the engineers and other product managers, where, having worked on Creator Insider and sort of being in a role where I have to participate in growing this channel, doesn't benefit decisions we make. So I'll give you an example. One of the teams that we work closely with is YouTube Analytics. And the way you see YouTube Analytics as a product development person is very interesting, but also sometimes doesn't have the nuance and sort of the perspective that you'd have when you look at YouTube Analytics and you're thinking about your own channel. And you're trying to ask yourself, like, well, what do I need to know to help Creator Insider be more successful? And you just have sort of instincts about it that are just very different in terms of, like, oh, well, I give you a specific example. Like the Creator Studio mobile app is something that is also in the area that my team looks after. And it's just incredible that you can't see the number of subscribers that you currently have.
I noticed on there, right?
Right?
Yeah, right.
And it's one of those things where it's not like the team didn't know.
Right.
I mean, they have a long list of things they're working on, but I don't think they had internalized how painful that is to fire that thing up and see some interesting real-time data, and then have to double-click on home, find your YouTube main app, and then go look for your own channel just to see how many subscribers you have. So there's like little things like that, which are like, come on, guys, like, how can we not fix this? And then there's also like longer term things where we think about, like, this channel seems to be doing okay, 5,000 is fine. Like, but how do I know, is that good or not? And how would I sort of stack up to other channels talking about similar topics that started around the same time? This idea of like benchmarking, right? Mm-hmm. So I think there are numerous things that we're looking into that they're not necessarily like brand new on the table, but I think the prioritization and sort of the broader context of why things need to be better are part of what we are getting out of Creator Insider. So it's been a fantastic project, and I very much enjoy it.
And I see too that you're reaching out in different ways. So you're using, I don't have access to this yet, but the community tab where you're throwing out questions about, hey, we're thinking about this, which has been really interesting just to kind of see the beginnings of ideas going on there. And it looks like you're taking ideas that may have been kicked around in the conference room one morning and putting it out to your subscribers to say, hey, what if you could share revenue in this way, or some other ideas that you've had on there. How has that been informative to your process?
Oh, I like that a lot because one is it's a very rapid way for me to just get more data points on an idea. Like in the old days, what you would do is you'd have a bunch of meetings, you'd kick around an idea, you'd rely largely on the team's intuition. Then you might request a research study done, and then they'll recruit a bunch of creators, and then talk to them, and then write a report. And that could be like weeks and weeks till you get anything back.
Right.
And it would be much more scientific than kind of my spitballing efforts on the community tab. But it's nice. I think it's great to kind of get that early read. And I think it's also perhaps a product development philosophy where, at least in this instance, there are some projects that we just think are so strategic and so important that we're just gonna really put a lot of investment into them, like Red or YouTube TV, and of course we do a ton of research for those things too. There are others where we have this surplus of potential new ideas, and we need ways to triage them faster so that we can determine, well, okay, which ones of these ideas deserves that more formal research study. And so things like the community tab are pretty helpful to kind of get like just initial temperature reads, just another data point. On top of that, using the product yourself, I've sent a little bit of feedback to the team that works on that, saying like, okay, now that I've been trying to use it as a creator, like I wish I could do this, or
right.
Why can't I do that, or how does this work? Is this kind of confusing? So there's just like there's unlimited benefits to sort of using the products that you are building and expecting other people to use, and so it's been very helpful.
Yeah, I think what's great about this too is there is a direct line back to decision makers there, which I think a lot of creators felt was lacking. I think people were listening, but it was hard to see that there was that the message was received versus just us saying things and then seeing a change happen 3 or 4 months down the road. To know that there's faces attached to it has been really helpful. This must have been a big change for management. Not to get into the internals here, but I would imagine this was something that had to get cleared and vetted. Was this something they were eager to do, or did they feel the time was right to do it now, given some of the issues that creators were raising?
Yeah, well, I think the company has a culture of experimentation. So I don't know that everyone was convinced that this thing would sort of work out, but it was hard I think everybody agreed, like, hey, let's try it. There was also like sort of a slightly analogous situation back in the day at Google Search. There was this guy, Matt Cutts, who would explain a little bit about how the search engine worked.
Right, he was the scam guy too. He would tell you how to not to get in trouble. Right, he kept out of jail. Right.
That's right. Right. And so part of the conversation that started at the end of last year was like, hey, should we try a similar approach where in addition to the blog posts, in addition to the official videos, in addition to partner managers talking to the larger creators, we also take a more conversational approach and have someone just kind of talk about things that are top of mind for the ecosystem. And so that was we had sort of a model that we could be inspired by, and so far it's worked out well. But I mean, like any idea, there was always sort of concerns about, well, I think the main one was the production value. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a legitimate question, which was, hey, if you just shoot these things once a week and you do some light editing, people are going to say, come on, like, can't YouTube do like a really high-end show? And I think where we ended up was, if we go too far down that route, we might actually lose some of the authenticity. And part of the reason why maybe people who watch the channel have valued it is because they know that, okay, this guy, he actually works with engineers on the platform, on features that creators use. But if I'm spending all day doing like 50 shoots for,
Right.
A 2-minute video,
do it again,
like
do it again.
yeah, so we've taken a position like, look, apologies in advance. This is not like a super polished channel, but we try and keep it real and be very sort of conversational and use the medium in some ways, the way a lot of millions of other creators do. And it's been working out pretty good.
Yeah, and that's funny because when you first started the channel and I first stumbled across it, I said, is this real? Because it seems like he's talking like he's there and he knows what he's like, there was a real legitimacy to how you were presenting the message, but I was like, there's no branding on this. And then I started going through some of your videos and I had gone into New York City for a channel review with one of your people who you were interviewing. And I said, oh, I know her. So this is legit. This is cool. So I think that it was neat that you did it that way because it doesn't look so polished. And I think there's some authenticity to that. My content, and depending on how well my equipment is working here, some people might see the effect of saying, you know what, sometimes you just got to put it out there and see how people react to it versus tweaking it forever in a day. So I give you credit for doing that. Just two more questions before we wrap up here. New creators starting out, like yourself, are in a different world perhaps than it was before because, YouTube's a lot bigger than it was 8 years ago, even bigger than it was 3 years ago. And the algorithms are different. There's different ways people consume content on YouTube now than maybe they did 2 years ago. But there are some practices out there, I guess, that seem to just work all the time, have always worked for creators as they're building their channels. What are you seeing that if you follow these practices, you're not guaranteed to become 3 million subscribers, but you'll be following best practices as you put your videos together? Are things out there, or have you seen things that people are doing that seem to work across the board, irrespective of the era in which they begin?
That's hard to say. I guess I think there are some things that I've observed that have been, I'll answer this, that have worked well for our channel. I think one of the things has been the consistency of uploads. Like I think it's easy to assume, hey, YouTube is so big, I'll just upload a video and boom, it'll be like the next viral hit. And I think in reality, viewers are pretty discerning, and oftentimes if they see a one-off video that's really great, that doesn't mean they'll automatically subscribe and sort of look out for your content. I think they many times will look to see, okay, is this something kind of worth subscribing to? Or, like sometimes you stumble on those channels where it's like one really cool video, but there's nothing else, or the thing before that was like 2 years ago, and then you may not sort of look out for it in the future. The second thing is probably some kind of like consistent voice. We actually talked about this on Creator Insider. We're like, well, why wouldn't we have a different host each week and kind of mix it up? And I think we said, well, like there might be value in having some continuity. And so, sort of the middle ground we found was like, okay, maybe Tom does a lot of them, but then he interviews people and that kind of thing.
And now you're
and then yeah, I know, right? Yeah. And then I guess maybe the third thing is kind of, and maybe this should be the first, is being very thinking a lot about what the audience is telling you, either through their viewing behavior or through the comments. I mean, one of the great things about YouTube is like you get a lot of feedback. And so, we weren't sure what would work. Like, is it going to be the, hey, here's a new upcoming feature, or is it going to be, this is why this has been talked about, here's a little bit more perspective, or is it going to be, hey, let's interview other creators? And so, I mean, we do really look at the analytics and the comments and the feedback to better understand what content will be the most useful to people. And so those are some things that we've done that I think have really been helpful.
And I found too that human beings, although our technology has changed, we still like to connect and feel connected with people. And sometimes just putting yourself on camera consistently, as you mentioned, is the best practice, because people keep coming back for that. They might click the little notification bell to make sure they keep seeing what you do. And I've had people tell me, like, they don't even care what I'm reviewing sometimes. They just like to see what my thoughts are on something they haven't heard of before. And it's a bit of an adjustment for me, because I really kind of built this around being searchable. So having subscribers and working with my audience was something I developed later in my channel's life as the subscriber base grew very quickly, because initially most of my viewership, and still now, was mostly around search, in that I was reviewing products that people were looking for, and I never thought about my audience until I did my first subscriber video, and I was just shocked by how much people liked it. I said, this is crazy, it's amazing, but it's that connection that people want to have, and it helps me, because I feel, as I'm doing my videos, I actually hear my audience in my head, because I can remember maybe I did something that they didn't like, and I said, oh, I'm doing that again, I better change it, right? So there's that feedback. It becomes part of your instinct, I think.
That's a great point. I've noticed that as a viewer, you know, I really, someone else has said this in a I think it was like VidCon EU, that, you know, in many ways, YouTube is a personality-driven medium. And when you watch sort of product reviews and it just shows like the hands opening up the product,
right?
It could be useful, but you do want to see the person. You want to know, okay, who is this person and what are they up to, and you want to have a connection with them. So I think for a lot of creators, that's they don't want to be, you know, they don't want to come across like they you know, like a prima donna or something. And they don't want to be on camera, but actually, you know, the audience, I think, comes to your channel to connect with you, as well as the content and information you're sharing. So, you know, as an example, like, I love watching from time to time, like, drone videos of beautiful landscapes, but I actually find myself gravitating towards more of those channels where the person's on camera talking about, you know, flying the drone and talking about planning their next trip, of course, sprinkled in with some cool footage, than just the straight up drone footage.
Yeah, and I've mentioned that to people often, because I always try to help people as they're getting started if I can. And one of the biggest mistakes people make is that they take out the phone and you never see the person that's talking behind it, because that's, you know, you may have been able to do that eight or 9 years ago when there wasn't a lot of content, but I think now people really want that connection, especially as I think less tech-savvy people are finding their way to this platform. That connection becomes all the more important. And I think people, too, can follow a story with your body language, with your eyes, and how you're approaching a topic. And it's something you can't do from behind the camera sometimes. And I think it's one of the keys to success. So it's good that you're putting yourself on camera all the time now, because you are the face of this Creator Insider. So let me ask, throughout the last question here, what's next for this? You know, how do you gauge success? I mean, I would say 5,000 subscribers in the short time that you've been doing this to be a pretty good starting point, especially because you're not cheating here and using all the tools that you have available to you to maybe accelerate that. But what's next for the channel? Do you see it continuing? Is it going where you expected it to go?
Yeah, I would say when we started it, you know, at the beginning of the year, we weren't sure, like, hey, we said, hey, let's just try it for a few videos and see what happens. And I think we were very well prepared for either A, no one would value it, or B, people would be not like receptive. They would actually not like it and would tell us they didn't like it and would make them angry.
Right.
And so we weren't sure. And it turns out that, you know, for the most part, people have appreciated it and have found it useful. So I think now we're at a different phase, which is, okay, the experiment has gone from the I wonder if this will work phase to the I wonder how how big we could make this phase. And I don't think we'll ever be like the official YouTube creator channel. There's a one that's a great one that we can certainly link to in this video. That's where you go for like the authoritative information. This channel is more like like back in the day when you buy the DVD and there would be like the bonus feature and you'd have like the director's commentary or behind the scenes. Like this is, so it's not going to be interesting to every creator. They may not care like, oh, how did you think about the next chart for YouTube analytics? But there are people who like it and value it. And so I guess the question is like, okay, like what is the natural ceiling for this channel? And I think we're encouraged by the first 5,000. If people like the channel, they should definitely subscribe, because one of the ways we justify shooting every week is saying, hey, people really value this. And as you mentioned, 5,000 is a good start, but it's not sort of like a slam dunk in terms of saying, oh, for sure, we should keep uploading every week as we have been. Because as you know, it takes time to manage a channel. And so I think to answer your question about what's next is, I suppose, getting to 10,000. That would be a nice next milestone.
Right.
And then continuing to put out videos that creators value and that they feel helps them understand what's going on and where we're taking the platform. And also is another way for their voices to be heard as well, because we read every single comment. We're not able to reply to everyone, but we read everyone. And I can tell you there's been numerous times where people have raised issues and we've subsequently said, that's a good point. We need to double click into that and sort of take some action to make a situation better. So, we're never going to be able to do everything that everybody wants, but we are always listening.
I think that's the key point here, is that, I think for a lot of creators, they felt like there was no, you would make a video hoping that somehow the algorithm directed it to somebody at YouTube who might see it that has some decision-making authority. And now we've got a little place here where, maybe you can't deal with my individual issue, but first of all, I can understand where you're coming from on things. I think that was a key component that was missing in a lot of this stuff, and especially for those of us who do this full time, we want to have some certainty as to what we're doing this week will likely be sort of the same next week, or if there's going to be some huge change, we should know about it. And I also thought it's been good about how you've been approaching the advertising changes, because you have come back a couple of times with with some additional information as to how this process is working, and you're taking some feedback from people as to making sure that wrong labeling is not occurring, or isn't occurring at a level that could harm a lot of people. So there's been a lot of things that I think this channel has been helpful for, especially for me. So I hope it continues. And part of the reason why I wanted to have you on was that other creators out there can see that there is actually people that work at YouTube. I'm not just working for a computer algorithm, and that there's help out there, especially people that do have a concern for the will of the creator out there. And I appreciate what you all are doing there for us. So just wanted to put that out there, and thank you for coming on. So where can people find this great channel of yours?
At youtube.com/creator insider. And that's where the channel is. And we upload every week. And just to sort of build on your last point, YouTube has thousands of people, but there is an entire division of YouTube called the Creator Org, right? And our whole job, literally how we measure this organization's success, is the number of creators who are succeeding on the platform. So we come to work every day trying to figure out, like, how can we make this platform better for all creators? And so it may not be obvious to folks who don't work in the company that there's a sort of dedicated team of people that's all we do. And I'm glad that maybe Insider is one way to kind of shine a light on some of that hard work, and because ultimately we're only going to be successful as a company if we can have really a great thriving creator ecosystem that continues to grow, and we've been really fortunate to have that, and we're working really hard to kind of grow it even further, and then have a great experience for viewers and advertisers as well. The other point I would just raise is, you mentioned that YouTube has changed a lot, and there's more sort of channels than there might have been in the past. The good news is there's also a lot more viewers than there were in the past.
Absolutely.
And the viewers that were with us in the early days are still on, and viewers are spending more and more time on the platform. So yes, there's more creators out there and more channels for people to follow and subscribe to, but they're also spending a lot more time, and there's a lot more of those viewers. So the pie is, I guess, getting bigger for creators as well. And so I think there's still a lot of great opportunities for new creators. And we see this, like the top performing creators, it's not like they're permanently there.
Right.
Like there's always a new crop and another generation that's sort of sprouting up, and our hope is that we can sort of have as many of these success stories as possible.
Well, I greatly appreciate everything you're all doing, and it's certainly there's no customer relationship is ever perfect, but it's been just a wonderful opportunity for me here, sitting in my basement, talking to you in Switzerland. I mean, we're in the future here. It's just amazing.
I know.
You think about it, but we're in an exciting time where where audiences determine what they like as opposed to individual gatekeepers, and I think that's one of the most important things that I've seen with YouTube here. It's something I've always wanted to do what I do. I just never had a place to do it. And now that exists for me and millions of other people. Anyone who wants to give it a shot can do it. And it's nice to see, as they sometimes say in the tech business, that you're eating your own dog food by actually creating a channel and putting it together. So I'm going to put a link down below. I'll put one of those cards up there, so I do all the things that YouTube likes us to do, so that you can find this channel. Because if you are a creator and you are seeing things that aren't working the way you think they should, go there and leave a comment. It may not be changed immediately, but Tom and his team are going to see it, and I think that's an important point that he made, that they do look at every comment just like I do, and that will not only direct his channel, but also perhaps direct the platform to make it friendlier to creators. And it's great to see that there are a group of humans out there looking out for us. So anything else you want to add in here before we close it out?
No, just keep it real.
All right, keep it real, and that's what we're doing here, and hopefully this comes out okay. We'll see what it looks like when I run the recording. This is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of these interviews down below in the comments, and we will see you next time.
This channel is brought to you by my Patreon supporters, including Gold Level supporter Cody Falk. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/S.